SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man.
There we go. Good morning to you. Good morning. Muddy Waters, music to my ears as we get started on this Monday, January the 5th, 2025. Thanks for joining us. It is Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming online at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. It's been a while. It's been a while, and it is great to be back. I think everything is how it's supposed to be as we get rolling this morning, and we say good morning to you. Happy New Year. Hope you had a wonderful holiday break. I've been out for a while, and it is good to be back, good to climb back into the saddle, and man, oh man, have we got stuff to talk about. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, but first, good morning to you, Lance Tolbert.
Hey, welcome back, Cotta. I had a week off, too.
I'll say to you as well.
Yeah, I know.
You
feel good about it.
Off the reservation last week, weren't you?
It was nice, too. And, we had always good to recharge at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And get ready for, the sprint of 2026 because all indications it's going to be fast. I mean, we're already in the 5th day of this thing. It feels like the first was just yesterday.
Yeah. The first was last Thursday.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people from the state of Mississippi that spent that time in New Orleans celebrating a Sugar Bowl win for Ole Miss. Did you do anything fun while you were off? Did you completely go off the grid and lay low?
I went to deer camp and took it
That's
easy.
Pretty off the grid, isn't it?
I went off the grid as much as possible. I mean, I had the DirecTV cut off a while back, so I watch TV on the phone up there. So it's as far away from normal circumstances as possible.
Okay.
You can still get phone, Netflix and stuff like that. So
did you watch the Sugar Bowl on your phone?
No, I came home to watch. I was like, no, I'm going to watch this one at the house. That was the one. And Ole Miss really showed out. I was so proud of the team and how they played, but obviously the fans. When the head coach of the opposing team at a neutral site says, "Yeah, it was like a road game. Those Ole Miss fans showed up, buddy."
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Kirby. That was I felt that was just really a great set. And Ole Miss loves New Orleans, but still, I mean, a game like that, to show up like that, win like that, it's a game for the ages.
Well, and it wasn't just the stadium. It was the city that felt that way from a couple of days out all the way through the game, and then on that drive home. Man, for those of you that are in the southwestern part of the state of Mississippi and are having to deal on a daily basis with the road construction around Macomb, well, we offer one up for you. Please be careful. There are a lot of people that got to experience that firsthand over the weekend.
Hey, I tell you, it's similar to probably I-20 on the eastbound side, that around Bovina and the river. It's you'll come to a screeching halt, but you can imagine all the Ole Miss fans the day after New Year. It was like a mule train headed north.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. The Chick-fil-A in Madison was. I asked the lady, I was like, "Y'all been busy today?" She goes, "Oh, really? We have." I said, "A lot of Ole Miss fans." She goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, the game."
Yeah.
She's like, "That's why we've been busy today." So
I asked
you're probably busy every day, if we're being honest, but.
The donut place was the same way. I said, have y'all been busy? And being here, everybody was gone. I mean, nobody was around the area I live in, so they had a really slow day. They're like, no, we hadn't really seen many people. And it's usually just absolutely packed. So I think everybody took off to New Orleans if they could.
It's going to be pretty nice for most of the state of Mississippi today. Tupelo, you've got partly cloudy skies with a high around 60 degrees, winds out of the south at 5 to 10 miles per hour. In Madison, going to have cloudy skies, at least earlier this morning, going to clear off a bit. 63 with a light breeze out of the south. Hattiesburg, partly to mostly cloudy for you, a high of 69. Winds light and variable. And for Ocean Springs, cloudy skies early in the day, partly cloudy this afternoon, 67 degrees. Not a bad forecast for the 5th day of January all across the state of Mississippi. Some interesting birthdays that happened on this day, January the 5th. King Gillette was born in 1855, the American businessman and inventor of inexpensive and disposable safety razor blades, born in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. I don't know that they are, well, I know they are not still inexpensive.
No razor is anymore.
They have gone way up. But pretty significant invention there for King Gillette. Got rid of the old straight blade razor and I guess went to the safety blade. George Reeves was born on this day in 1914, American actor. He was on The Adventures of Superman, also had a role in Gone with the Wind. He is from Woolstock, Iowa. He died in a controversial circumstance in 1959, a gunshot to the head. Death was officially ruled a suicide, but alternative theories persisted, including that a mob hit was involved, and the case has been featured on such TV programs as Unsolved Mysteries.
Mm-hmm. Hollywoodland, too, is kind of a movie about that. You know, Ben Affleck, Adrian Brody. Excellent movie.
Jane Wyman was born in 1917, the Academy Award-winning actress in Johnny Belinda and Magnificent Obsession, and perhaps more famously, the first wife of former President Ronald Reagan. She was born in St. Joseph, Missouri. Walter Mondale was born on this day in 1928. The senator from Minnesota was a Democrat, served in the Senate from 1964 until 1976. He was Jimmy Carter's vice president. He is also the man who has the scarlet letter to wear of being beat 49-1 in terms of states when he ran in 1984 against Ronald Reagan. Congratulations to Walter Mondale. He did carry his home state of Minnesota, but that was it. That was it. Walter Mondale passed away in 2021. Robert Duvall is 94 years old today. Excuse me, Robert Duvall, 94 today. Born in 1931, The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, MASH, the film, The Great Santini, Taxi Driver, and so many others. Godfather, kind of at the top of the list, I would think.
Apocalypse Now, the role in that, though. Okay. Iconic, man. I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Chuck Noll, an icon as well, the Pro Football Hall of Fame coach, 4 Super Bowls with the Pittsburgh Steelers, won them in 74, 75, 78, and 79. He was the head coach in the Steel City from 1969 until 1991. Diane Keaton was born on this day in 1946. Died earlier, I guess last year. American Academy Award-winning actress. Her list of accomplishments was outstanding, including Father of the Bride and First Wives Club. What was the movie she made with Jack Nicholson? Remember the two of them? It's like they were dating and they were older. I'll come up with it in a minute.
You got me on that one.
Bradley Cooper is 50 today. Born in 1975. Wait, that'd make him 51, wouldn't it?
Well, I'm 51, so it depends on when in 75, I guess.
Well, he was born on January 5th.
So I guess he'd
1975.
He'd be 51 today. Yeah.
51 today for Bradley Cooper.
Greatest role ever Bradley Cooper played? Wedding Crashers. Sack.
That's his best role?
I think so. I love it, man. That's just, it was his coming out party. You know, that was like the first one you got. And you're like, who is this guy? And then he was in everything.
Love to hear from you this morning on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. That's the way for you to join the conversation. Have I already said 2025? Apparently I did. It's 2026. Thanks for helping me. Probably won't be the last time that I do that.
You get a pass if you do, though. I mean, it's okay. It's early in the year.
Yeah.
Something's got to give. Is that the one?
I think that's it. Or as good as it gets. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Thanks for checking in this morning on the C Spire text line. We got some stuff that happened this day. Some interesting things historically happened this day, including Davy Crockett arriving in Nacogdoches, Texas to aid the revolution. That was in 1836. And Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde being published by Longmans, Green and Company. The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Robert Louis Stevenson. That was published in 1886. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us as perhaps you get back into the routine a little bit on this 5th of January, 2026.
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center, I'm Patty Steele. Venable Glass has 2 locations in Richland on 51 North and Brandon at 209 Woodgate Drive, Crossgates. Call 601-605-4443 for all of your glass needs. Traffic moving smoothly, all clear right now with no accidents or major congestion. Traffic brought to you by River Trust Federal Credit Union. Take advantage of their limited time share certificate special, a 4.27% annual percentage yield on 30 and 60 months. Federally insured by the NCUA.
In Mississippi, with our ever-changing weather, termites and household pests can disrupt your family life and take a toll on your home. Family Termite understands that these economic times are hard on everybody. To help you and your family out, we're offering flexible payment plans. Call Family Termite and let us help protect your home. 601-933-1014. 601-933-1014. Or reach us at www.family-termite.com.
Need a business loan? Start with your bank first. But if that doesn't work, there's an alternative. At Alternative Financing Services, with over 200 nationwide lenders helping all credit types, even bank turndowns. With SBA and non-SBA options, we finance all types of business loans, including commercial real estate, business acquisitions, equipment, or working capital. Visit AlternativeFinancingServices.com or call Scott Mansell 601-750-0919. Alternative Financing Services, your solution when the bank says no.
Hello, I'm Gary Jolly from the Tractor Store. LS Tractor understands your passion for the land, and just like you, LS Tractor is committed to excellence and superior products. LS Tractor comes with a long list of standard features that are unmatched by other brands and backed with the LS commitment to provide exceptional customer service and satisfaction. You get a lot more for your money with the LS Tractor. Come to the Tractor Store in Richland to experience the LS difference. The Tractor Store in Richland.
Hey, this is Bob, just walking in here, ESI Supply. Robert, FR clothes are big here.
Yeah, we sell a lot of flame-resistant FR clothing to industry that are working in the plant environments and oil and gas industry where they need flame-resistant clothing. So if you have needs for FR-rated clothing, ESI is your number one source.
Stop by and see them at 111 Aerosmith Drive in Richland or give them a call at 601-933-4910. That's 601-933-4910 or online at esisupply.net.
The new year, where Mississippi comes to talk. Middays with Gerard Gibbert. Weekdays here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
What else?
And always on the SuperTalk app.
Find a corner where I can hide. Silent footsteps crowding me.
We're going to get that camera right in a second, Lance.
There, we better get that thing right.
There we go. Good morning to you. It is Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm, SuperTalk TV. Conversation, the show, the program, Mornings is presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. An armored car believed to be carrying arrested Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro has left the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. The 63-year-old illegitimate ruler of Venezuela is being escorted by unmarked white vans and a fleet of New York Police Department cop cars. His first appearance is set for noon, after which he will be returned to his jail cell in Brooklyn. A Brooklyn jail that does not have the best reputation. New York Post has an article titled, I guess it's just kind of a headline. Welcome to Hell on Earth, Nicholas, inside the notorious NYC lockup where Maduro and his wife are being held. Big story. Big story. And there are layers to the story about Venezuela. And we will start to unpack some of that this morning and a whole lot more. Did you know that the Mississippi legislature is set to reconvene tomorrow? Session is back. Nobody more excited about that than J.T. Mitchell, who we will visit with a little bit later this morning. On this day in 1914, industrialist Henry Ford announced his $5 minimum per day wage, doubling most workers' pay from $2.40 for a 9-hour workday to 5 hours for an 8-hour workday. $5 for an 8-hour workday. It was about 35 years later when the conversation about minimum wage came up again in Truman's Fair Deal, dealing with United States domestic policy with the goal of building on FDR's New Deal, ensuring a fair deal for all Americans in the post-war era. The key proposals were increasing the minimum wage, expanding Social Security, federal aid for education, and public housing. He wanted national health insurance, civil rights legislation, and he wanted a repeal of the Taft-Hartley Act, which restricted unions. His policies were a mix of success and failure. Congress passed some of the acts, including increasing the minimum wage to 75 cents an hour and expanding Social Security, but they blocked major reforms like national health insurance due to conservative opposition and powerful lobbying. So what was the case in 1949 is still kind of the case in 2026. This day in 1957, Jackie Robinson of the Dodgers retired, saying he would rather shut it down than be traded to the New York Giants. January 5th, 1959, Buddy Holly released his last record, It Doesn't Matter. Killed in a plane crash 29 days later, the day the music died. 1969, Fantasy Records releases Bayou Country, the second album by the American band Creedence Clearwater Revival, CCR. Good Golly Miss Molly and Proud Mary were both on that label. One of Lance's favorites in 2017, Brazilian supermodel Adriana Lima was named the most valuable Victoria's Secret angel, modeling for the brand from 1999 until 2018.
Yeah, she's a looker. Run. Yeah, and that's a heck of a run.
January 5th of 2021 was a big day for Democrats. In Georgia Senate runoff elections, it was this day 4 years ago that Raphael Warnock defeated Kelly Loeffler and John Ossoff defeated David Perdue to give the Democrats control of the United States Senate. And there are a lot of people pointing to Georgia as a key for Republicans to regain a foothold in the Senate. or to increase the size of their margin in the Senate. Friends, it's not going to be easy. John Ossoff's sitting on like $100 million. And finally, inconsequential, and yet interesting enough, in 2023, Edward Norton, he's been in everything. He's not quite Kevin Bacon, but he's not far from it. My favorite role is where he played Worm in Rounders. Edward Norton on PBS's Finding Your Roots television program back in 2023. It was revealed that his great-grandmother 12 times over was Pocahontas.
Wow. That's pretty cool, huh? 12 times over.
Now, we're not talking about Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
Actual.
The actual, yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. I was curious.
All right, some news headlines for you this morning. The Mississippi Highway Patrol wrapped up enforcement efforts over the New Year's holiday travel period. 90 crashes, but no fatalities. About 11 injuries over the course of the period, which ran Wednesday at 6 a.m. through Thursday at midnight. 3,200 citations issued, 34 arrests for impaired driving. 427 motorists forgot to buckle their seatbelts, and they got a ticket for it. The Mississippi Tourism Advertising Fund, which, by the way, helped pay for the Rose Parade float, or paid for the Rose Parade float. Man, they raked in big money last year, $15.1 million. If you look at a graph of the money that has come in to this fund over the last 6 years or so, you will see a line that goes diagonally up and to the right, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but there is a reason for that. You may remember that lawmakers several years ago put the a portion of the hotel, restaurant, and hotel sales tax collections into this fund. It was 1% year one, 2% year two, 3% year three, and following. And so over $15 million went into that fund. Spent about $12 million of that. Left with about $3 million unspent. Currently, Tourism Office funded primarily through MDA. But last year during the legislative session, the Mississippi Tourism Reorganization Act was overwhelmingly passed in both the House and in the Senate. However, you remember when we got to the end and had some budget disagreement issues? Well, the bill went to Tate Reeves' desk, and it did not have a formal appropriations bill that guaranteed funding of the Mississippi Tourism as a department, and so he vetoed it. Good chance that will end up back on his desk again this year. And while Tate Reeves is not for making government any bigger, he has said that this is a law that he would sign onto the books if there is a revenue stream provided to make sure it has what it needs. Some Mississippi officials have reacted to the news out of Venezuela that we all woke up to on Saturday morning. Some of those reactions coming from Mississippians on both the Republican and Democrat side. We know that Roger Wicker is chair of the Armed Forces Committee on the Senate side of things. He said, "Today we owe a debt of gratitude to the brave individuals who were able to accomplish such a daring operation. This arrest was the culmination of a months-long effort by the Trump administration to degrade the narco-terrorist organizations that Maduro oversaw. The Venezuelan people must now act swiftly to put their country back on a path to peace and prosperity, which will be to the benefit of all of their neighbors." A slightly different statement from Democrat Benny Thompson. To be clear, The illegal attack on Venezuela has nothing to do with drugs or terrorism. It's about Trump causing chaos and trampling on the Constitution so he can claim more power and Venezuelans' oil. Republicans in Congress should hold him to account, but I fully expect them to do nothing. Oh, yeah, like an imitation of your career, Benny. Do nothing. Sports headlines coming up next.
Culture. Your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
After 6:30 on this Monday morning, the 5th day of January in the new year, 2026. Some of you getting back to work for the first time in a few days, maybe a bunch of days. Raise his hand.
Yeah, I'm guilty.
Yeah, glad to be back with you. Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. Let's revisit the college football playoff quarterfinals. It got started on New Year's Eve. That was in the Cotton Bowl, right outside of Dallas and Arlington. Miami, a 24-14 winner over Ohio State. They led 14-0 at the half, scored 10 more in the second half for the 10-point victory. They will be the opponent for the winner of the Sugar Bowl. The New Year's Day games got started with the Orange Bowl, an 11 a.m. Central Time kickoff in Miami. Miami Gardens, I think, technically. Oregon won that game. They were up 6-0 at halftime, 13-0 at the end of the third quarter. Scored 10 points in the fourth quarter and won it 23-0, pitching a shutout, handing Texas Tech its second loss of the year, ending the season. Oregon, the number 5 seed, moved to 13-1 on the year. Then you had the Rose Bowl. A lot of people thought that, Alabama going to get it done against the number 1 overall seed and undefeated Indiana Hoosiers. They did not. Indiana with a beatdown of the Crimson Tide, 38-3. Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza only threw it 16 times, but he had 3 touchdown passes in the ball game. And so the college football playoff needed a good game. And boy, did they get it on New Year's night. Ole Miss and Georgia in the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. 39-34 the final. Ole Miss with 20 fourth-quarter points. The Rebels were down 9 at the half after not playing very well in the first half of the ball game. It was 21-12 at the break. Rebels got a touchdown in the third quarter, held Georgia to a field goal there, and then outscored the Dogs 20-10 in the final 15 minutes of the ball game. Trinidad Chambliss, the game's offensive MVP, went 30 of 46 for 362 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kejuan Lacey carried it 22 times for 98 yards and 2 scores. Trey Wallace had a big game catching the football, 9 catches, 156 yards, and a touchdown. Also a big game for Dejon Stribling. He had 7 catches for 122 yards in the ball game. Defensive MVP came from the defensive line. It was Will Eccles who took home the game's honors, had a couple of passes that were deflected at the line, a couple of tackles for loss, finished the game with 5 total tackles. Xavion Harris, a monster game as well. He had 10 tackles in the game. Cam Franklin recorded a sack, so did Centurion Perkins, who was all over the place on Thursday night in New Orleans. And so that sets up the semifinals on Thursday night in Glendale, Arizona, suburb of Phoenix, with a 6:30 Central Time, 5:30 Mountain Time kickoff. It is Ole Miss and Miami, and then one night later, Friday night in Atlanta, in the Peach Bowl, you will have the Oregon Ducks taking on undefeated number 1 seed Indiana. amidst all of the football, college football playoffs going on, you also had the start of conference play in the SEC in basketball. Ole Miss traveled to Oklahoma. They were down just 2 at the half, 43-41, but outscored in the second half 43-29 en route to a 16-point loss. Patton Pinkins, the freshman, led the way for Ole Miss with 25 points. 86-70 was the final, Oklahoma getting the win over Ole Miss. Mississippi State and Texas needed an extra 5 minutes, and it was Mississippi State who emerged in Austin with an overtime 3-point victory, 101-98. Josh Hubbard had 38 points for Mississippi State, 10 of those 38 coming in the overtime period. Other games, Vanderbilt beat South Carolina. Alabama beat Kentucky in Tuscaloosa. Arkansas with an 86-75 win over Tennessee in Fayetteville. Missouri beat number 22 Florida at home, 76-74. Georgia, an overtime winner over Auburn. What a game that was, 104-100. And you had Texas A&M winning at home, 75-72 over LSU, handing LSU just its second loss of the season. LSU now 12-2. I know college basketball has been going on for, good grief, nearly 2 months right now. But price of poker goes up when you get to conference play. It kind of snuck up on us a little bit. The NFL regular season came to an end yesterday, and we got scores from around the league. Buccaneers beat the Panthers 16-14 on Saturday. Seahawks beat the 49ers on Saturday. Rivalry game yesterday in Atlanta, it was the Falcons 19-17 over the Saints. Saints finished the year 6-11. Browns beat the Bengals. Vikings over the Packers 16-3. Jackson Dart and the New York Giants knocked off the Cowboys in the Meadowlands. 34-17 the final. Jackson Dart 230 yards and 2 touchdowns to close out a pretty good rookie season for number 2. He's wearing 6 now, isn't he? Yeah. Jaguars beat the Titans 41-7. Texans over the Colts 38-30. Bills beat the Jets. Lions beat the Bears 19-16. The Broncos 19-3 over the Chargers. The Raiders beat the Chiefs. Rams over the Cardinals. Patriots big over the Dolphins 38-10. Commanders over the Eagles, and the Steelers in the final game of the day won 26-24 over the Ravens, and so that sets up the wild card round in the NFL. Here's what you've got. Games are going to be the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th. So we're sitting here on the 5th, 5 days away from the first games. Saturday, January 10th, Packers-Bears. On the NFC side of things. That could be fun. Also on Saturday, you've got the Rams and the Carolina Panthers. That's the afternoon game. On Sunday, the 49ers and the Eagles will hook up. Also on Sunday, you've got the Chargers and the Patriots and the Bills against Jacksonville. Buffalo going to travel to Jacksonville. And then your last edition of Monday Night Football for the year, the Houston Texans will be in Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. The Denver Broncos get the first round bye in the AFC, and the Seattle Seahawks get the first round bye on the NFC side of things. So that's a look at what's going on with the NFL. If you are curious, the top 10, well, I guess the top 18 are set for the draft. Here's the top 10. The Raiders will get the first pick, followed by the Jets, and then the Cardinals, and then the Titans. All 4 of those teams went 3-14 this year. And if you're one of those teams, you're like, could we have just won one less game and gotten that number 1 overall pick? Browns will be the 6th. Giants got the 5th pick. They went 4-13. Then the Browns and the Washington Commanders at 6 and 7, both at 5 and 12 this year. The Saints will pick 8th after a 6 and 11 season, followed by the Kansas City Chiefs. 6 and 11 for the Chiefs. Not used to seeing that. And then the Bengals also went 6 and 11. They will pick 10th. So the draft coming up in April. Man, what a sports weekend we had. Whew. C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Lynn and Lee in Oxford checking in this morning. They say, back into a routine? Ha! Going to work for one day and then heading to Arizona. Got to speak briefly to Lynn and Lee as they were driving through an intersection. They reached out the window and shook hands as they were in New Orleans this past weekend. Good morning, guys. Glad you're back. Missed you while you were away. Thank you for that. It is good to be back. Thomas in Greenwood, is this Comrade Cross and Lance that I'm hearing? It's been a minute, gentlemen.
Good morning, Thomas.
Well, you're using that term kind of loosely now, aren't you, Thomas? Gentlemen? CC in Senatobia, I still can't process that Ole Miss is one of 4 teams still playing in the college football playoff.
Join the club.
Another message, I'm really tired of everybody saying that Ole Miss has no chance to beat Miami. They said the same thing about the Rebels against Georgia. Go Rebels. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Beat anybody left. I mean, one thing is none of these are the blue blood elite programs annually, you know. You get a chance to have a seat at the table if you win this for any of those 4. I mean, Oregon's good, but they're the only out west team, you know. So.
How much does Ole Miss have left in the tank? They have to be beat up. Got to be tough to get up for another game like that again. It's a quick turnaround, but Ole Miss has been blessed to be a pretty healthy football team throughout the course of the year. And then somebody sends us a GIF from Wolf of Wall Street. Leo DiCaprio with his arms spread out wide, so that's how Ole Miss fans are walking into work on this Monday morning. And a lot of people going to the HR person and say, hey, can I take a couple of days off? I know it's the first week of the year, but I got to go to Arizona this weekend. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. We've got your Mississippi Lottery update coming up next.
From the Venable.
From Sumner to Summit to Summerall. Richard has something for you. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome back. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. You hear that music and you know it's time for your Mississippi Lottery update, brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery online at mslottery.com. No jackpot winner in the most recent drawing on Saturday for Lotto America. Tonight's drawing is for $11.83 million with an estimated cash value of a little over $5 million. There was no jackpot winner on Saturday for Powerball. It's up to $86 million now with a $38 million cash value. You did have a winner. We were when Lance, you and I were last together, we were watching that Powerball pretty closely as it got well up over $1 billion, and there was a single winner in Arkansas.
Yeah,
good for that person. Yeah, it wasn't me either. Felt pretty good about this one, but didn't quite get there. Mega Millions up to $180 million. The next drawing is on Tuesday night with an estimated cash value of nearly $82 million. Be sure to check out all of the new games coming in from the Mississippi Lottery. Last week, the prizes that were paid out by the Lottery Claims Office, about $1.8 million, while retailers paid out $5.5 million. And a Mississippi Lottery player rang in the new year with a big win in the New Year's Eve Powerball drawing, matching all 5 white balls to claim the $1 million prize. The winning ticket was purchased at Sprint Mart in Columbus. If they had had the power play option on, it would have been multiplied to $10 million. So that extra dollar would have been well spent. But we're going to tell you about some new games that are coming up from the Mississippi Lottery as the week goes along. A lot of chances for you to win. Got a message on the C-Spire text line. Said 601-879-4395. It's Paul in Cleveland. He says, Richard, break the Trinidad Chambliss news from last night. I have checked, and I have no news to break for you, at least not yet. There was so Pete Golding, he's pretty simple on X, on Twitter. He has one thing that he tweets, and it's a shark emoji. And he did that late last night.
It was late, yeah.
What, about 12:30 maybe?
I think it was, because I saw it come across. I'm like, uh-oh.
What does that mean?
I know that means something big.
And then Walker Jones, who runs the Grove Collective, the NIL arm of Ole Miss football, he tweeted something late as well last night. It was a little video from, was it from Jaws?
I thought it was. Yeah, I think that. I didn't catch all of it. I was dozing.
Yeah. And that got people, like, in the middle of the night, just completely in a tizzy. Cryptic X posts from people related to the football team that you cheer for this time of year get people, ooh, I can't sleep anymore. We'll have to wait a little bit longer to figure out exactly what that news meant. So we'll see. I'm sorry, I can't give you more. Bubba in Starkville says, "Congrats, Rebs, win it all." I'm sorry, it was not a shark emoji. He tweeted a bunch of those yesterday. It was actually the Trinidad and Tobago flag that Pete Golding tweeted.
He was on vacation, probably.
You just think he just went to the beach?
He just went to the beach.
Okay. We got a lot coming up this morning. We will we'll talk a little bit more in the 7 o'clock hour about the Sugar Bowl, Ole Miss continuing to play in the college football playoff, and just kind of what that scene was like in New Orleans. The rundown that General Dan Raisin Kane, who is now chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, gave in the press conference with the President and the Secretary of State on Saturday was absolutely incredible. If you missed that, we will walk through the Venezuela operation. Bottom of the 7 o'clock hour, Clare Hester and Camp Murphy from Capital Resources will join us, and we will talk about this legislative session, some of the major policy battles that are beginning to take shape as we go into this new session. And also, we'll get into a conversation about the $50 billion in federal funds that are being rolled out phase one over the next 5 years that have to do with rural health care. What does that mean for Mississippi? How are those funds going to be distributed? What is that going to look like? We'll give you a rundown of what you can expect in this legislative session in the 8 o'clock hour. And J.T. Mitchell going to join us later this morning as well. He is the news director with the SuperTalk Mississippi news team. Thanks for being with us. Great start to the week with you on this 5th day of January 2026. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
That's getting there. That's getting more.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Morning, partner. The sun is up, the coffee is on, and you're starting your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross, here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
She traveled all around, all across this country. Met a lot of people, made a lot of friends. She got the feeling of the swamp playing running through her blood. She going back home, but she don't know.
Welcome to the 7 o'clock hour. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams, whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business. We're here to help every step of the way. We're dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. We invite you to join us on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. Check out C Spire online at cspire.com. Some of the savings that you had over the holidays have gone away, but don't ever forget about the deals that are going on at C Spire, including making the move to C Spire, where you can switch for up to $1,000 per line. Learn more online at cspire.com. C Spire, customer inspired. Thanks for joining us. Because so many people are talking about the Sugar Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl, we need to spend a few more minutes on that, and certainly welcome your comments on the C Spire text line. The number is 601-879-4395. My family and I went down on the afternoon of December 30th, and that first night that we were there, you could tell there were a lot of Ole Miss fans there. But on New Year's Eve, it was like a transition happened, and the city of New Orleans, great song, by the way, it's like it kind of turned into the Grove. It just turned into a big Ole Miss party. Everywhere you looked, there were Ole Miss fans, and you began to get the impression, because there was some talk going into that game, that Ole Miss was going to outnumber Georgia. And if you follow Georgia football, you know that that is a big, big, passionate fan base. You had a few years ago during the regular season, and it was kind of a bucket list trip, but Georgia fans took over Notre Dame Stadium, probably had 40% of the crowd in a home regular season game on the road. If you've watched Georgia in the playoffs, you know that they travel very, very well. And there was some doubt. It's like, well, but Georgia fans, they're going to show up. But as you looked around New Orleans, you started to say, where are they? I got out early on New Year's Day morning and was, as one does sometimes in New Orleans, was grabbing a cup of coffee and an order of beignets to take back to the room. Kids were still sleeping. And I saw a few more Georgia fans out. I was like, okay, well, maybe they've just been hiding out somewhere. But as the day went along, Lance, we were staying kind of on the edge of the French Quarter, and we're walking distance to the Dome. It was about, 15 minutes, give or take. The scene walking to the Dome, and that's one of the really cool things, by the way, about New Orleans, the Sugar Bowl. New Orleans is a host city for big events. Everything is kind of centrally located. Now, you go out and stay in Uptown, maybe you're walking in or taking public transportation in, driving or taking, a trolley car or an Uber or whatever. But the majority of the people stay in and around the French Quarter. And it was almost as if there was a parade going on without any floats. It was just a people parade. And everybody was in powder blue. Like every sidewalk in every direction was like 8 wide, and it was just like this train of people that never stopped. And it was like, holy cow, this is going to be impressive. And then once you got inside the Dome and everybody kind of settled in, it was like a home game. And you mentioned it earlier, Kirby Smart, Georgia's head coach, in the post-game said, our people are great, they travel, but this was like a road game for us. I'm curious from your perspective, Lance, how did it come through on television?
Oh, it was great. After the fumble, scoop, and score return, I think everybody was like, oh, goodness. But Ole Miss fans, just like the team, were there. I mean, they'd never stopped. As you saw the opening screen of the Sugar Bowl, it was clear that Ole Miss and the powder blue was outnumbering Georgia. And I was going to say, what a genius move. I know some people love or hate the powder blue, but it really shows up. It is different than most. I mean,
it pops.
Yeah, it pops. You got the red with Georgia. If we'd have been Navy, you'd have seen it would have kind of blended in with black. But I mean, that powder blue showed up like I've never seen before. And I said, this is going to be a heck of a game if Ole Miss can just stay away from the mistakes. And that one mistake right there, that almost did it. But just like the team, the fans were there. They had a blast. I don't think anybody lost belief. But they knew that the mountain was high to climb back from that.
Yeah. And you remember it was Georgia that trailed by 9 going into the fourth quarter in the first meeting, and they came back and they won in Athens, pitched a shutout. It was a different story. And really the only time all season long that Trinidad Chambliss playing quarterback has looked shaky was in that fourth quarter in Athens, where Georgia had decidedly the home field advantage. And I was not at that game. I was talking to people who were there, and they said, it was as good a road environment in terms of hostile as anyone, anywhere. And it kind of shook him. Boy, he was not shaken. And that sequence in the fourth quarter, 3 plays consecutively where you got pressure coming, and on the first one, Chambliss kind of escapes to his left and just kind of shot puts it forward to Kewan Lacey for a short gain, but avoided a big loss. And then on the next play, he scrambles. I think SportsCenter did a graphic or an illustration that showed that he scrambled 55 yards on that play, but it was all left-right, although he did get really deep, like nearly all the way to the end zone, and ends up completing a pass to Kewan Lacey, who takes a monster hit. The guy hit him so hard that he nearly knocked himself out, the Georgia player. And he bounced off of Lacey, and Lacey fell forward and was able to get the first down. And then he come up with a big pass play right after that. It was pretty incredible.
I had a coach that said we'd be doing the, you'd have the lineman and then running back and a linebacker, whatever that drill. I can't remember what it was called. And they'd be like, boy, y'all couldn't break a tater chip hitting like that. I will tell you one thing. That game had some pops in it. There were some hits.
Hitting.
Man.
There's
everybody
no
was
question
popping
about
right
that.
back up, ready to go.
Jane thought I was kind of a little crazy at one point because after that play where Trinidad had the incredible scramble, I pointed up to the rafters. She's like, what? I was like, look. She's like, what? What are you pointing at? I said, you see that name up there in the rafters and lights? Archie Manning's name? She goes, oh, I got you. Because it looked like an Archie Manning-type scramble on that play. And then the game wouldn't end.
Oh, no, that was – I thought that was a drop of the ball twice there, everything went so well, and then all of a sudden you had that mess at the end.
So Ole Miss kicks the field goal to go up 37-34. There is 6 seconds left in the game. Georgia receives the kickoff like 9 yards deep in the end zone. Guy runs out of the end zone, throws it back across the field. It doesn't get to anybody. The ball hits and bounces, and it hits the pylon. So by rule, it's a safety. So now Ole Miss has a 5-point lead, which is significant, although with that little time left, not looking good anyway. Everybody thought the game was over. In fact, they pushed the stage out onto the field for the post-game presentation, had to take that off the field, said there was 1 second left on the clock, and so because it was a safety, Georgia got a free kick. So they line up for an onside kick. They kick it. Ole Miss chooses not to even try to recover it. Georgia falls on the ball. Everybody runs on the field like the game's over again because surely 1 second ran off the clock. But a little-known rule by some, if the receiving team is the first to touch the football and they fall directly on it, no time goes off the clock. And so you had 1 second left, and they go with the backwards pass, fumble-rooski, all over the place play. And Ole Miss just kind of sat with defenders like 50 and 60 yards away from the snap and just kind of waited on it. And then finally you had Gunnar Stockton with the ball in his hands dropped at the end. So it was like an end-of-game celebration for the third time in 6 seconds on the game clock, but about 15 minutes it felt like in real time, maybe not quite that long, where they finally got it all sorted out, and Ole Miss won. And now they will head to Phoenix, Arizona. Going to be really interested to see what the Ole Miss crowd is like there. That is a hard trip with a quick turnaround from the last game and the work year starting back over. We'll see what it looks like. We're back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross.
From the Venable Glass Trap.
Where you're from, Abbeville, Batesville, DeIberville, or any other ville in the SIP. You're starting your day off right. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Pleasure to be with you on this Monday morning, January 5th. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. Coming up in our next segment, Clare Hester will join us. She's the founder and managing partner at Capital Resources, and also Camp Murphy, who is a senior government relations executive with Capital Resources. We will talk with them about the start of the upcoming legislative session and some of the major policy battles that we are going to see unfold in the Capitol. That's coming up about 15 minutes from right now. We'll leave the football conversation for behind. Two quick notes. I assume that there are going to be a lot of watch parties for the Fiesta Bowl on Thursday night across the state of Mississippi. Maybe you're hosting one. Maybe you're going to one. If you're looking for one, Ole Miss is hosting a watch party in the Pavilion. So they are opening up the Pavilion for folks to come in and watch the Fiesta Bowl on Thursday night, 6:30 kickoff for that game. I don't know a ton of details about that. I would assume that they will have some concession options that will be open for that, but I don't know that for a fact. And then if you are going to Glendale, Phoenix, Scottsdale, wherever you're staying. By the way, it's been interesting to watch people talk about their travel plans and how they're getting there. You got some, it's like a planes, trains, and automobiles thing. I saw somebody that they were taking a train, literally.
They're leaving today, huh?
I guess so. You got some folks that are driving, and then you got folks that are trying to figure out air travel still. And it's like, if you live in the state of Mississippi, you got people that are trying to figure out, okay, am I flying out of Jackson? Flying out of Gulfport, am I flying out of Memphis, flying out of Meridian, going to drive over to Huntsville, going to Birmingham, going to Little Rock. Saw somebody this morning said they were going to drive to Dallas and then fly from Dallas round trip. So a lot of different routes being taken, and a lot of folks having to maybe dig into the savings account that they weren't planning to dig into in the first week of January. But hey, I guess you do what you got to do.
Hey, one thing in regard to, you know how crazy the World Series run was? And fans were literally driving back from Omaha to go to work for 2 days, turn around, go right back. I mean, it kind of reminds me of that. I hope we have, as a fan base, the same kind of inertia that you had in that College World Series run, because I think the country started pulling for Ole Miss. I mean, it was just amazing to watch the fans show up, how well the team played, but kind of have a feeling it's a little like that the fans are behind it. The team feels good. You got a coach that believes in the players. Anything is possible, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's only 4 teams left, and you're one of them.
Exactly. I think they'll show up just fine. It may be hard to get there, but I believe Ole Miss fans are going to be there.
You probably woke up to the news on Saturday morning that the United States had engaged in an overnight operation in Venezuela and had removed Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Nicolas Maduro, who was in his 3rd term as president of Venezuela, although most everyone agrees that he did not actually win the most recent election in their country, but he certainly did not cede his power. There was a press conference that was scheduled to start at 11 o'clock Central Time, and I think it ended up being a little bit later than that, with Donald Trump and Marco Rubio and General Dan Cain. Raisin Cain, they call him. He's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And, the president's remarks were great, but to me, the thing that stood out about that press conference was the 7 minutes that General Kane stood at the podium and detailed the operation. I'm not going to give it to you word for word. Thought about playing it, but you can find that if you want. Go back and watch it on your own. But I did kind of outline some of the highlights from what he said. I just thought we would walk through these because it really is an incredible operation that seemingly went off without a hitch. General Kane said that they had been ready to go since early December, but they were waiting. They were waiting for the perfect time. Much different than the way D-Day unfolded, but you remember one of the things about D-Day was that they had to wait for the weather to be just right in the North Atlantic. Well, that was the case as well in Venezuela, because you are dealing with the ocean and the mountains and rapidly changing weather and low cloud ceilings. And he outlined that, and he said, look, we've got the most skilled aviators in the world, but they were challenged to the nth degree in dealing with the ocean, in dealing with the mountains and the low cloud ceilings that were in place. At 10:46 Eastern Time on Friday night, 10:46 Eastern Time Friday night, so 9:46 where we were, 11:46 Venezuelan time, Caracas time, Donald Trump gave the order to move forward with the operation with the simple words, good luck and Godspeed. Aircraft launched from 20 different air bases throughout the Western Hemisphere, a total of more than 150 aircraft. Personnel involved in the operation ranged between the ages of 20 as the youngest and 49 as the oldest. As many of these aircraft were launched from aircraft carriers in the Caribbean Sea, they began a flight at 100 feet above the seawaters. It was fascinating to me. My youngest daughter, Frances, at 8 years old, that's what she latched onto out of all of this, is that they were only flying 100 feet off the ground. Not just 100 feet off the ground, 100 feet above the surface of the ocean. And if you look at some of those helicopters, the rotary wing vehicles as they were described, and those things top to bottom, like from the top of the rotor to the bottom of the foot on a helicopter, I don't know that foot's the right way to describe it, but the pegs, the legs of the helicopter underneath it, and that's 20 to 30 feet. 100 feet's just over 30 yards. Many of you can throw a football that far. They layered different effects down from both Spacecom and Cybercom. They had aircraft from the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, and the Air National Guard, including F-22s, F-18s, F-35s, EA-18s, E-2s, B-1 stealth bombers, drones, and other support aircraft. They went in first with firepower to dismantle the air defense systems surrounding the military compound and Maduro's compound. And once they cleared the mountains, it became evident that, according to General Kane, they had maintained the total element of surprise. At 1:01 Eastern Time, so 2 hours and 15 minutes after Trump ordered the operation to move forward, they arrived at the Maduro compound. Helicopters did come under fire. One was hit. It remained flyable throughout the mission, and all of them came home. Air and ground intelligence provided real-time updates. Maduro and his wife were taken into custody with no loss of American lives. They used helicopters to exfiltrate the entire scene, with overhead planes and drones providing cover. The aerial forces returned to their floating bases, and the operation was complete at 3:29 Eastern Time. Maduro and his wife were taken to the USS Iwo Jima. Dan Kane said that this was, quote, a powerful demonstration of America's joint force. And he said, we rehearse this, and we rehearse it, and we debrief, and we plan, and we do all of this not to get it right, but to ensure that we cannot get it wrong. And then he said, forces remain in the region at a high state of readiness. The amount of coordination in this operation was mind-boggling. And it was happening from all over the Western Hemisphere. Tip of the cap, which is the very least we could say to the men and women of the armed forces who were engaged in this operation, performing at their absolute best. New legislative session begins tomorrow in Jackson at the Capitol. Clare Hester and Camp Murphy from Capital Resources will join us coming up next. We'll talk about the new session, some of the policy battles, and rural health care in Mississippi. That's next on Mornings with Richard Cross. Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
All right, now to the important stuff.
Your VIP pass to hear what the most influential Mississippians are talking about.
This is very important. Huge news.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
I was a dam builder across the river deep and wide.
Glad to be with you on this Monday morning, the 7 o'clock hour of the show, brought to you every day. Mornings with Richard Cross by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services, plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today at 601-206-7966 or go to mwgemployerservices.com. Glad to be with you. Show brought to you every day by Community Bank, and we're glad to welcome our first guests of the new year on Mornings with Richard Cross. Clare Hester, founder and managing partner at Capital Resources, and Camp Murphy, who is a senior government relations executive at Capital Resources as well. New legislative session beginning. I'm curious, have either of you heard of any delay to the start of the session because of football priorities that might be getting in the way with some legislators needing to be out of town?
Richard, good to be with you this morning.
Good morning to both of you.
Everybody's clued in to the football, but I think we're going to roll ahead with the session.
Sounds like that is indeed going to be the case. We've got a lot to cover, a lot to get to this morning. I'd love to start with just maybe a high-level overview, 2 or 3 from each of you in terms of things that you expect this session. There's some low-hanging fruit like school choice. We know that conversation is going to happen. But in terms of what are we going to see this session, and is there anything that maybe is not getting as much attention going into the new session that a couple of months from now we may be talking about nonstop?
Well, Richard, thank you for having us. We appreciate the opportunity to share and discuss all this. You know, this will be the 3rd year of the 4-year term. This is the year they really try to get as much done as possible. And if you remember last year, there was a bit of a breakdown over the tax reform package and that sort of thing, and they didn't get around to funding the capital expenditure projects and things like that. So we're hopeful that, they're going to, I think start out the session with a bang, so to speak, and focus on education reform and choice, or freedom, however you want to express it. But then I think they're going to get down to business on projects and funding. They've got 90 days to get their work done. Right. So we anticipate a lot of action on the funding side of things. We know the Division of Medicaid, as an example, has a deficit. I'm not sure how they're going to fill that hole. We've been tracking the state budget. Of course, we have a balanced budget provision and are required to end the session with a balanced budget. There's been about 3% growth if you look at the revenue reports for the first 4 months of the year, and that's what they're looking at. By the time we get around to the end of March, they'll have an opportunity to review all of that and make good decisions. And as you know, they've made good decisions over the last number of years. We don't see as many needs for deficit appropriations or that sort of thing. So we expect a lot of action in several areas. Of course, education being straight out of the gate. Mm-hmm. We really anticipate in health care maybe seeing a CON bill early. The governor vetoed the legislation last year because of a quirky amendment that was added at the last minute. I think there's general agreement on most of the provisions that were passed in the legislation last year, so we're hearing they're going to get that off the plate pretty fast. And then, they're going to be focused on PERS, funding that. And, there are different opinions between the lieutenant governor and the speaker on how to move forward with all of that. And then I think you're going to see more discussion about energy policy because, obviously that has driven a lot of our economic development, particularly with all the growth of data centers and whatnot. So those are the big issues I see straight out of the gate.
Yeah, Richard, at the risk of saying education freedom 3 times as the top issues that will kind of garner a lot of the media attention, I do know that the lieutenant governor has spoken publicly about a need to restructure governments and boards and commission consolidation stuff. So I think you'll see a bill early there. And then, of course, each chamber will have an education bill. And the budget always seems to be an issue as we get into the later month of the session.
We're going to get that done while they're in session, or we're going to have to come back? I mean, there was some pretty heated debate about that a year ago.
I'll say that Claire and I have both been in the business long enough that a good way to look foolish is to try to predict what the legislature will do but in the next 3 months.
You mentioned something that has been mentioned a number of times, even in conversations with me on the air from the lieutenant governor about restructuring government. And that's not as sexy a topic, I suppose, as some of the things that Claire just mentioned that are kind of the big headline grabbers. In your mind, what does that mean when the lieutenant governor says we need to look at restructuring government in Mississippi?
I think that going back several administrations, I actually worked for Lieutenant Governor Phil Bryant, who then became Governor Phil Bryant. We used to talk about some back office stuff. Is there a better way? Can we buy in bulk? Can we consolidate positions? Things like that would A, cut cost for these regulatory agencies and commissions, and B, make it a more streamlined approach for licensees or just the general public as they come forward. I think you would also be surprised, Richard, at the number of commissions that are out there that you've probably never heard of, a lot of which are not meeting currently, don't have members, things like that. And so I think the lieutenant governor has said publicly that that's some low-hanging fruit that he'd like to go after.
We've got this rural health care conversation. We know that health care is an issue in the state of Mississippi, and especially in some of the smaller and more rural communities. There is, $50 billion in federal funds that is going to be rolled out over the course of 5 years, and that first tranche of money is basically right now available. As I understand it, there is a little bit of a disagreement on how this money should be spent and who should control the purse strings, whether or not it's the legislature or the governor's office. Claire, give us an update on that conversation and kind of where we are and how that's going to play out this session. Or is that this session of the legislature issue that's got to be resolved?
I think things will play out during this session, but I will tell you the OB1 legislation that created this fund, it seems to indicate that the money would flow to the governor. The governor made the application. There was both a guaranteed aspect of it and an aspect where it was competitive with the other states. So roughly, each state over a 5-year period will get somewhere plus or minus $1 billion, which truly could be transformational here in Mississippi. After OB1 passed, the governor's office brought stakeholders together. They hired a consulting firm. They started working on all of this in earnest. When you look at the numbers of what each state received for the first year, we did pretty well. So we got a little more than what was potentially anticipated, and I think that speaks to the fact that the governor's office and the Division of Medicaid, Department of Health, Department of Mental Health Services, all the stakeholders that were involved did a good job on the application. So what I understand is that they intend to make this truly transformational. I mean, and to try to really facilitate a regionalized approach utilizing rural hospitals, FQHCs, regional.
Let me interrupt
health
just
centers.
for a second. So you said it sounds like the governor feels as if he should be the one allocating these dollars. Does the legislature agree?
I can't speak for the legislature, but I have talked to leadership on both sides. I think they believe they should have a role in appropriating some of the money. Now, how that shakes out, I am unsure. I've also spoken with folks in the governor's office who indicate that the governor feels very strongly that he should direct the money. I haven't seen the documents and whether how the feds are directing it, but as I understand it, they're going to be very specific with benchmarks and requirements. So let's just say the money is not spent as it was applied for, it doesn't meet the benchmarks or whatever, that could have an impact on next year's money, because this is going to go on for 5 years. And so, you know, Claire, I do think, to your point.
Let's pick this conversation up on the other side of a timeout. We got to take a quick break. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi. Clare Hester and Camp Murphy from Capital Resources with us. We're back with you right after this.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Wake up, get up, and start your day right with Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk Mississippi.
Blacktop down in the ditches.
Mornings with Richard Cross presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net, rooted in our community. Clare Hester and Camp Murphy from Capital Resources are my guests. We're talking about the upcoming legislative session, which officially begins tomorrow. Claire, you brought this up when we were talking a moment ago, that we had the unspent capital funds a year ago. People sometimes refer to that as a Christmas tree bill or special projects money. They didn't get that done. They got kind of a bare bones budget that was passed when it was all said and done. And one of the questions that I've asked of both Speaker White and Lieutenant Governor Hoseman is, the money that wasn't spent last year, is that going to roll forward and that pot of money will kind of get doubled up this year? Or is it like it just kind of went away and that's off in a fund somewhere and we're never going to see it going into local communities? I haven't gotten a super clear answer, but I don't get the impression that money is going to end up allocated this year in addition to this year's money. Is that how you understand it?
Well, I think it depends. I think some of that money may not be available, but I do think that some of it will be. And so I think I'm hopeful, and I know we all are, that this will give them a little bit of additional money to work with. You know, they always determine that number, and once they figure out where we are budget-wise, and, you know, it is the third year of the 4-year term, and I think there is a lot of pressure from local communities to fund projects that are meaningful to those communities.
One of the things that Speaker White has mentioned in the past, in taking the tax cuts that were put in place a year ago and the phasing out of the income tax, was that the economy in Mississippi needed to continue to grow. You mentioned a second ago that first quarter revenue estimates are up. I think you said about 3% over what that they had predicted. That's right. Important for that to continue.
Absolutely.
Is there reason to believe that is going to continue, kind of the way the House side has predicted would be the case moving forward?
We watch probably the same things and listen to the state economists and others and trying to learn and understand what the economy looks like, and it seems strong. You know, when you look at all the economic development, all the projects out there, all the jobs creation that has happened over the last several years, one has to assume, and based on the fact that we have real numbers showing real growth, that it will work out. And they'll be able to sustain the tax cuts with additional growth in our economy here in Mississippi.
Visiting with Clare Hester. She is the founder and managing partner at Capital Resources, and also Camp Murphy, who's a government relations executive, and both have been working in this business for a long time. Camp, I don't remember if it was you or Claire that brought this up earlier. I think it was Claire when we were talking about kind of all of the priorities and all of the things that we're going to hear about. There is nothing that raises the dander of people in Mississippi faster than when you start talking about PERS. And when you talk about people's money and the retirement system, people get on the edge of their seat in a hurry. One of the things that we heard over the last couple of months was the First Responders Association asking for a specific carve out because of the level of stress and, you know, the type of work that they have. There's been some suggestion that if you did that for one group, maybe you've got to do that for teachers as well. And there's this big unfunded liability that's out there as well that's kind of looming, and a debate on how do you take care of all that. What is the sense that you get from talking with legislators on how they're going to attack that this year?
Yeah, so quickly, last year what they did was create a new Tier 5, which would essentially allow new employees that are hired, by the way, no one's in that system yet, to come in under a more fiscally sustainable model. So that was the goal. What we had was unsustainable. It kept growing in unaccrued liability, and we created a new system in the legislature. Now, I think anytime you talk about carving someone out, that comes with a cost. Mm-hmm. Because we moved from an unsustainable model to a sustainable model. Now, I think there are some, the first responder community has been talking about really more the 35-year mark. How long do they have to serve? You hear often, you know, do you want a 65-year-old firefighter trying to pull you out of a burning building kind of conversation. So I think there are some tweaks that can be made, and there are some tools that the legislature can use to help first responders. But I think the important thing is to remember that comes with a cost. And I do think you will see a very focused effort toward funding the tiers 1 through 4.
With the roughly $300 million that the state has sitting on the sidelines, do you anticipate they throw a big pile of money at PERS?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We are out of time, coming up on the 8 o'clock hour. I thank you both for your time this morning. Hopefully we can continue the conversation in the near future.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Clare Hester and Camp Murphy from Capital Resources. It all begins officially tomorrow in Jackson. Year 3 of this year's 4-year cycle, or this 4-year cycle with the legislature is up on us.
You're waking up to what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross. Right now on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Great to be with you as we roll into the 8 o'clock hour. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. You can be part of the conversation on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Check C Spire out online at cspire.com. You perhaps are like we are in our household. C Spire kind of integrated into everything you do on a daily basis. They are our wireless provider. They are our home internet provider. And they provide business IT services for my wife's business in Oxford. And so that kind of covers the 3 tenets with C Spire. The best in wireless with 5G nationwide coverage, blazing fast home internet speeds, over a gig now if you need that. I don't know that anybody actually needs that much bandwidth in terms of internet, but they've got it, and they've got it available to you into your home, and a great business IT services team. Learn more online at cspire.com. C-Spire, customer inspired. Mornings is presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. Looking to manage your personal finances? Our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. We're more than just a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Hearing from some folks that some of what Clare and Camp said, especially with regard to PERS there, is indeed accurate, that there will be a PERS funding bill that is going to be part of this particular legislative session. A lot of money sitting on the sides. And, you know, the thing with it was interesting as we talked through PERS a year ago and the implementation of Tier 5 and the sustainability of the system, or the lack of sustainability of the system that previously was in place. We had to remind listeners, Mississippians, over and over and over that, hey, if you're in the system already, nothing is changing. You are going to receive your benefits. And when we use the term unfunded liability, that doesn't mean the program is broke or is going broke tomorrow. And Senator Daniel Sparks, the leaders in the House, the leaders on the Senate side, the Lieutenant Governor, the Speaker of the House, all said over and over and over again, if you're in the system, you're going to be fine. We will make good on the obligations of the state of Mississippi for the people who are in the PERS system. But when we talk about unfunded liability, we're talking about the long-term ability as more people retire and are drawing their retirement benefits and fewer people are working, putting new money into the system, that's where you run into a problem. And the only way that you, if you've got a really big debt, let's just say it's credit card debt, and you got, I don't know, I'll come up with a stupid number. You've got $100,000 in credit card debt, and you see that minimum monthly payment, basically you'll be paying on that for the rest of your life. But if you're going to knock out that $100,000 credit card debt, even if you don't pay all of it off at once, the way you really are able to knock it back is when you drop a big payment down on it. You plop down $10,000, you plop down $20,000, and you start to whittle it away, and you get it to a point where it's a more manageable number, where the money that you're paying into the bill that you have for a credit card, it's not just going to interest. Like, you're actually making a dent in the principal. And part of that is what has to happen in terms of that unfunded liability. If you want to get this thing to a place where it's solvent, where there are no questions, and you don't have to forever just throw a little bit of money at it at a time, then you got to make a big payment. I don't know if that's. I would assume that is a bill that will originate in the Senate. I mentioned Daniel Sparks a second ago. He has been. And because of his place on the PERS board and for other reasons, he's been very, very involved in that. I suppose it's possible that that's a bill that originates on the House side, but we'll see where that goes. And I don't think it's one of those situations where the two sides are like completely operating in the dark with no kind of working together at all. Some of these things that are going to come up on the education front, it is well documented that school choice, educational freedom are going to be a massive conversation during this particular legislative session. There is a lot that can change between now and the end of March over the next 90 days with the session beginning tomorrow. But if you said, hey, Richard, make a prediction right now, what is it going to look like at the end? Here's my prediction. This is dangerous, Lance. Dangerous to make big predictions. But here's my prediction. We end up with some sort of a compromise bill that doesn't go as far as the House or the governor want it to go, but does accomplish some good things. I think you will see district-to-district transfer when the receiving district has the capacity to take a child in from another district. I think you will see that formalized. And there are a lot of people who said, hey, we've already got district. I understand. But I think it's going to be a more formalized approach to district-to-district transfer. I think in that bill you will see a teacher pay raise across the board. I don't know how significant. I think there is a possibility that as part of a larger education bill, you see a cell phone ban in schools that happens all across the state of Mississippi. Some districts do that already. I think you could see it formalized across all 82 counties and public schools. And I don't know. I don't know if there will be more in it than that.
That's a pretty good bit, though. I mean, that's a heck of a prediction.
I mean, I think that's kind of the direction that we're headed. I don't think you're going to see district consolidation as part of this bill. I think that's too big and complicated and hairy of an issue to roll into a K through 12 education bill. But we'll wait and see. On the PERS front, well, we've talked about that a little bit. Get the impression that there is going to be a significant amount of money that is deposited to help fund and sustain PERS as it exists right now. I think the conversation is going to be really, really interesting about reform to the Tier 5 model that they put in place just a year ago that has not even officially started yet. Are you going to say, hey, this is what we agreed upon, but there are problems with this, and this is how we need to reform it? I don't know. I'm going to be interested to see what the legislature does with the health care conversation. And not just on the distribution of those dollars in the rural health care fund. But is there anything that the legislature tries to do to tackle rising insurance premiums, public health issues? The reorganization piece is an interesting one. That is something that has been important to Delbert Hosemann, and he has mentioned that a number of times over the last year and a half when we visited. Probably, I don't know how many times the lieutenant governor's been on with us since I kind of started in this role. Probably half a dozen times, maybe more. And I don't know that we've ever had a conversation where he didn't mention government reorganization. What about a ballot initiative? I think we're going to see that conversation. Will we get anywhere? We're back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross.
From the Venable Glass.
Waking up, Mississippi. From South Haven to Scuba, it's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
That's life. That's life. That's what all the people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. But I know I'm gonna change that tune. When I'm back on top in June. I said that's life.
A lot of stories that are kind of making their way around the online community nationally, including news that perhaps Minnesota Governor Tim Walz will not seek another bid to remain as governor of the state of Minnesota.
Hey, I think he has his jazzercise video coming out, I think.
Well, that, and he's also going to be an adjunct professor at the Leering Center.
God, this guy, man.
Did you watch it? Did you watch the Nick Shirley video?
No.
No, the 43-minute investigative report about the learning centers in Minnesota and the Somalian community.
I read a little of the transcript, but I didn't watch the video yet. That's deep stuff.
Yeah, it is. Millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars, poof, gone in Minnesota for the Somalian community.
Well, he did brag about how easy it was to open a daycare, pretty openly.
Yeah. I don't know if this will be in that education bill that was kind of making the prediction about not too long ago, but there has been some discussion about mandatory civics classes. I guess that would be for high school students. I have no issue with that whatsoever. None. I think it's a really, really important thing for teenagers to learn how our government works, or at least how it's supposed to work. Mose says, Richard, I don't think the district-to-district will pass without the education community approval. The gaining district would be shorted on the amount per child, only getting the state funds. Okay. Man, you seem optimistic, Richard. That much legislation from the ones in office now will probably take at least 15 more years to talk about it before really doing anything.
I think we need to start doing betting lines here. That'd be fun, political betting lines.
well documented that school choice has led to academic decline in almost every state in which it has been implemented. Great move by our legislative geniuses. Senate will not approve school choice bill combined with teacher pay. Dead on arrival. Okay. And look, I was not reporting the news. I was giving you a prediction. I was very, very clear in saying that, hey, this is a prediction that I'm making. You can make yours as well. In fact, maybe we need to do that. Maybe we need to have prediction day or prediction hour tomorrow. Your predictions, our predictions on what the legislature is going to get done. You heard Camp Murphy and Clare Hester earlier go, hey, we've been in this business long enough that we're not going to try and tell you what the legislature is going to do in a given session. I understand that, especially from a professional standpoint, but that doesn't mean we can't have a little fun with predictions.
Hey, I was messing with him in the break. I said, yeah, he's coming back right after the break, and he wants your odds making on the governor election coming up. And then he looked at me like I was crazy. I said, no, I'm kidding with you. But that's going to be a wild one, too.
I got a prediction for you there.
Yeah.
We are going to have a little more clarity as to what that gubernatorial field is going to look like by the end of the month of January. This January, not next January.
No, okay, good. I was like, what January are you talking about?
January 26th. By the end of this month, we are going to have more clarity. Not full clarity, but more clarity on who is going to be running for governor here in the state of Mississippi. Just full of predictions here.
You got a prediction?
To start the new year.
You got any predictions for us this morning on what that list is going to look like, or do you want to wait until after January?
While
you're thinking, one of our listeners, he or she's in on poly market betting for the legislature would be a fun idea. Yes, I think it would be amazing.
I want to wait a little longer.
Okay.
I want to wait just a little bit longer.
I don't blame you.
I mean, look, if you've been following this, if you've been listening, you know what the names are that are all being bandied about. Seems that Brandon Presley is the clear front runner on the Democrat side. And then you got a bunch of names. You got a bunch of names on the Republican side. I guess the only confirmed Republican at this point is Andy Gibson. At this point. And then a whole lot of rumor after that. But it's rumor that is I mean, we can talk about the names. I mean, you got Andy Gibson, obviously has already declared that he's running for governor. Will he stay in the race all the way through? That's an interesting question. Attorney General Lynn Fitch's name is very prominently out there. There are many that think that the Lieutenant Governor, Delbert Hosemann, will put his name in the ring, throw his hat in the ring to bar an Andy Gibson term. Shad White has not shied away from the fact that when we've asked him about it, about his future, that it's something that he is looking at closely and will continue to look at very closely. Shad's got strong opinions about the way that government should work in Mississippi and the role of the governor in Mississippi. Tommy Duff's name has been out there for a while now. Tommy Duff would be a political outsider. He has not been in politics really at all until the last year when he created Duff PAC and through his PAC started donating to some down-ballot races across the state of Mississippi. I continue to hear from time to time Philip Gunn's name emerge. To me, the biggest challenge for Philip Gunn, and I like Philip a lot, is that he will have been entirely out of the news cycle for 2.5 years, 3 years. To jump back in like that, I think that would be an obstacle that would stand in his way. Lieutenant governor's race could be really, really fascinating as well. Really fascinating. Somebody sends us a message that says Mike Hurst for governor.
I haven't heard that one yet.
I haven't either.
Sharp guy, though.
And obviously Mike Hurst would have to step down from his role as running the RNC in Mississippi and from his role as an attorney for the RNC at the national level. I don't know that I see that being likely. I feel like I'm forgetting a name or two. But I think we're going to narrow it down from that big list to a smaller list by the end of this month.
Oh, you think it's going to be fewer than some of the speculated names?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And look, I mean, if Tommy Duff ultimately jumps in this field, that's not going to scare everybody off, but there's some that are going to go, I can't compete financially. There's no scenario where I can raise enough money to compete. Somebody on the C-Spire text line says, don't forget Gerard. Okay. Well, you got a couple of messages about that in the time that we were here. You can be part of the conversation on the C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. J.T. Mitchell, SuperTalk Mississippi News Team, going to join us coming up next. I feel like I'm going to have to reintroduce myself to J.T. I hope he remembers us. Always enjoy the chats with him. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming online at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. We're back with you right after this.
Want to know what's happening in Mississippi politics?
Yes.
You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Once again, we say good morning to you, and we welcome you back into a somewhat normal routine on this first Monday of the new year, January 5th, 2026. It is Mornings with Richard Cross. We're presented to you by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net, rooted in our community. J.T. Mitchell is the SuperTalk Mississippi News Director. The news did not stop over what was a holiday break for a lot of people. Good morning to you, my friend.
Hey, Richard. Good to see you.
You as well.
Hey, quick thought. Since you're such a futurist this morning, do you have any positive predictions for me in 2026? Am I going to get rich? What is it?
I think you are going to continue to excel as the news director of the SuperTalk Mississippi News Team, and if you need if you have to negotiate a new deal, I'll be your agent.
All right.
I'm not promising I'll get you any more money, but I will. We'll get you like unlimited donuts or something.
So you're my Jimmy coffee. Sexton.
I'm probably not as good as he is. I just know
I can't
we need
hire
you.
him. He's not interested in what I'm making.
Maybe so. Maybe so. What's up, man?
Oh, man.
We got a lot going on.
A lot going on. Of course, that little thing called the session begins tomorrow. And I heard y'all also making predictions about that, talking about betting on what lawmakers might do. Now, I must remind you, if they do pass a law to allow you to bet on what happens at the Capitol, more than likely you will have to be at a brick-and-mortar casino. You
well played.
Cannot use your cell phone unless you are on the premises of said brick-and-mortar casino. And if you try to do it at home from your cell phone, it's probably illegal. So just keep that in mind out there, all the gamblers.
There shan't be any mobile sports betting on things that might or might not happen at the Capitol, is what you were saying.
That's right. But on a serious note, man, it's going to be a busy 3 months. It always is. And I should say potentially 3+ months, because if you remember last year, they got through the 3 months, they did not have a budget, and then they went back. And so I'm going to take away that second session for a little bit to get the budget done, and just look at the regular session from 2025. 3,707 bills were introduced. What's your guess? How many made it to the governor for a signature?
30.
Oh, okay. Pretty low ball. But 259. So that means roughly 7% of bills got enacted.
How many did he sign?
I would guess 6.99999%, because
most of them.
He only vetoed, I believe, the one over the Certificate of Need laws that I think your guest in the 7 o'clock hour mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and he vetoed the Department of Tourism.
That's right. He did. So I think you're still in that 6.9% range. But that just gives people an idea.
And on the Department of Tourism bill, he said he would sign it into law, even though he is not for creating new government agencies, as long as there was an appropriation that went with it, not here's the new office, how are we going to fund it?
Yeah, which to many is sensical. And so that happened a year ago. But that really gives people an idea of how many bills are filed each year. Thousands. How many actually make it through what's a really complicated process?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was explaining it to one of our new reporters recently, and there are so many steps, or so many potential steps, to go from introducing a bill to actually getting that piece of legislation to be law. And that's just government. But we, of course, will cover the entire 3 months. If it's more, we'll keep covering it just as hard as we always do.
If you are looking for a 2026 legislature primer, then I would like to direct you to our website, supertalk.fm. There is a comprehensive article written by J.T. Mitchell that answers kind of the who, what, when, where, why, and what to be looking for this particular year. Breaks down some of the history on the education debate, on what's going on the healthcare front. Do you think we get all right, ballot initiative? I think that is going to be introduced. Do you think we close this legislative session with a new ballot initiative bill?
Based on recent history, no. The last 4 years,
by the way. I don't think that'll happen.
I think they're definitely going to get closer, and I'll be the first person to eat crow if they go out there and do it. They'll get closer for sure, because from what I'm hearing is that you have both your chairs in the House and then in the Senate, which in the Senate is Jeremy England, and he was on one of the Talk Network programs recently. And he was kind of explaining the bill that he's been working to put back out there. He put it out there last year, did not get much
headway. I think that was with us, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And, from what I'm hearing is he, of course, did not share too many details on it, but he did share that it's going to take into account the evolution of the internet when it comes to campaigns, okay?
Right.
Given the pre-2021 ballot initiative in Mississippi did not allow for online petitions. And I don't think that's what he's saying. I think he's saying is that currently you can flood so much money into the internet via social media campaigns, digital marketing platforms, that honestly getting X amount of signatures would be a little bit easier. He's saying he's going to put some guardrails in there for that. I'm also hearing that both bills from both chambers, at least the main ones that you're going to hear about, are not going to allow residents to alter the Constitution at all. It would only be law changes. And there's also going to be some caveats I'm hearing. Maybe not initially, and if it's not initially throughout the process, you can pretty much bet on there being some caveats that laws can't be changed surrounding abortion or the public employees retirement system or maybe some other policies that are already in effect.
Unrelated to the legislature, but I don't know, somewhat breaking news this morning. Ross Dellinger is a good sports reporter. He does an outstanding job. Covers college football for Yahoo Sports, worked in Mississippi and has deep ties to the state of Mississippi. His wife's from here. I think he's originally from Louisiana. He reported this morning that Ole Miss quarterback Trinidad Chambliss agreed to a new deal with Ole Miss contingent on him having his eligibility waiver request granted. School officials are hoping this week for a resolution to the waiver seeking a 6th year of eligibility. And his father told Yahoo Sports that he is confident that that waiver will be granted. A couple of background things here. There was an injury early in his career when he was at Division II Ferris State. There was a request from the NCAA for detailed medical documentation. That has been provided. Chambliss and his family have retained Tom Mars as an attorney to deal with the NCAA. Tom Mars' record in dealing with the NCAA is impeccable. Ask Ole Miss fans how they know that. And the NCAA has been big-time dragging its feet on this. So I think that's kind of what we know at this point about Trinidad Chambliss.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I followed up with one of our multimedia journalists, Caleb Sailors, who's all over the Ole Miss beat. He said he's hearing pretty much the same thing as Ross. I thought it was interesting that Trinidad's father said he's confident in the NCAA. I don't think anybody's truly confident in the NCAA, at least since 2020. You're right. They've been dragging their feet on this for quite a while. And the announcement that Trinidad would return to Ole Miss if this waiver is granted, I think it makes sense. He is enjoying more success than ever as an Ole Miss Rebel. You're kidding yourself if you're saying Lane Kiffin doesn't want him to wear purple and gold next year. However, with the uncertainty of him maybe not getting a waiver or maybe getting a waiver later on, with the portal already open and running at fast speeds, other schools have to go elsewhere. They have to pivot. Yeah. And so these other schools that would pay a lot of money for Trinidad Chambliss, they probably can't afford to wait.
Yeah, good point.
Ole Miss, on the other hand, they won't Trinidad for another year. And I don't necessarily know if, Pete Golding said they're going to look for another quarterback, whether that's depth or whatever. But in a perfect world, he gets this waiver and Chambliss runs it back for another year in 2026.
And, of course, there are a lot of people wondering about Kejuan Lacey. There was some pretty active emoji posting from Pete Golding in the overnight hours. I don't think the guy ever sleeps.
Or use words.
On social. Not on social media. JT Mitchell, news director, SuperTalk Mississippi News Team. We will continue the conversation with him as we wrap things up on the other side of this break. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, and it's good to be back with you. SuperTalk Mississippi.
From the Venable
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome to the show. And talking in your sleep doesn't matter where you've been, as long as it was deep.
We do have breaking news this morning. Governor Tim Walz, the sitting governor of the state of Minnesota, has announced that he will not run for re-election. And he used the majority of the time in which he was telling people that he would not run for re-election that it was Donald Trump's fault. And you want to know the really, really, really rich part of the announcement that he is not going to be running for re-election? He says, in September, I announced I would run for a historic third term as Minnesota's governor, and I have every confidence that if I gave it my all, I would succeed in that effort. I've decided to step out of the race and let others worry about the election. I know it may come as a surprise. I refuse to spend even 1 minute of 2026 doing anything other than rising to meet the moment. Minnesota has to come first always. Which is fantastic, except for the fact that he took 6 months off running the state of Minnesota to be a candidate for vice president of the United States. It's almost like when Tim Walz opens his mouth, nothing but hypocrisy and lies come out. And maybe the people of the state of Minnesota have figured that out. And he didn't want to get trounced in a re-election bid, and so he is bidding adieu to the land of 10,000 lakes. Sorry, JT, I said breaking news, and then I went into a bit of an editorial there. I know that's not how you operate, but significant news nonetheless.
Well, that's your job. One thing that I got out of the Tim Walz news is that I didn't know you could serve more than 2 terms in other states. That was blind to me because I looked it up, and 36 states are like us, 2 terms and you're out. But 14 states actually allow more than. Just a tidbit of information for this Monday morning. In Virginia, you can actually serve 2 terms, and then you have to sit out, but then you can run again and serve another 2 terms. So, fun facts of the day from Richard and JT.
There you go. Good to have that information ready. We had the Rose Parade. It rained, but Mississippi's float was still there with Kermit the Frog leading the way.
Man, that was fun to watch. I mean, just watching it makes my heart smile every time you see Mississippi on a national stage, because this state deserves it. The people of this state deserve it. We have some incredible artists, some incredible writers, incredible singers, incredible regular Joes like you and me, who deserve to be highlighted. And watching that on, I guess it was Thursday, was pretty amazing. And if you haven't seen the Where the Creativity Blooms float that rolled through Pasadena, we have a video at supertalk.fm. Like Richard said, Kermit the Frog, a big one at that, was on top. He had a banjo in hands. Another fun fact, Kermit the Frog, of course, from Mississippi, was the first non-human and first amphibian to Grand Marshal the Rose Parade in 1996.
How about that?
So, cool stuff all around. You had Charlie Worsham on top singing, and his song actually gave credit to more Mississippi artists that weren't directly included on the float. So he talked about Jimmy Buffett, Kingfish, the Blues, etc. Go watch it if you haven't. It'll make your heart smile.
Outstanding. It was what a weekend. What a weekend. And it's going to be a busy news week. Be sure to, if you have not already, bookmark supertalk.fm. You can click on the latest news tab up at the top and keep up with all of the stories. It's a mix of state politics and sports and breaking news all across the state. A lot of good stuff there. It is my first stop every single day.
Well, I appreciate that. I need more people to bookmark it. I know that not as many people are reading newspapers nowadays. Yeah. And more so, they're bookmarking the news websites they love. They sit down with their cup of coffee, open the phone, open the iPad, open the laptop, and go to those sites. If you haven't, please add supertalk.fm to that list. I mean, we're covering everything, like Richard said, from politics to sports to lifestyle, everything in between. We talked about the session begins tomorrow. We cover stuff in real time. We will be at House Speaker Jason White's press conference at 2 p.m. today, letting you know what he has to say.
By the way, programming note as it pertains to Speaker White, he was scheduled to be with us this Thursday. We've actually pushed that back a week. He will join us on Thursday, January 15th. There's a football game that's happening in Phoenix on Thursday, and I want to visit with him in person as opposed to over a video link from half a country away. And so he was gracious enough to let us reschedule.
What game?
They call it the Fiesta Bowl.
Oh, yeah, I think I've heard of that.
Yes.
Somebody from this state in that game?
Yes.
It's going to be a big one, too.
Ole Miss in Miami at 6:30 Central Time, 5:30 Mountain Time on Thursday in the Fiesta Bowl. Thanks, JT.
Thanks, Richard. It was good to see you.
You as well, buddy. Thanks, Lance.
Yes, sir. See you tomorrow.
Great to be back with you. Thanks for joining us, starting your week and your new year off with Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
A Super Talk Mississippi media production.